Welcome back to the deep dive. I want to start today with a question, and I want you to be honest. How many times have you looked at a tool like ChatGPT or, Copilot and thought, this is it. This is the magic button. This robot is going to write my emails, it's going to crunch my data, and I am finally going to clock out at 2 p.m. and go sit in a park.
The 4-hour work week dream. It's the promise we've been sold for, 50 years now?
Exactly. We have this collective fantasy where AI handles all the drudgery, the boring stuff, and we're just left with all this free time to be creative or just restful.
It's a beautiful image, sipping an espresso while the algorithm does all the work.
It is. But we have a stack of research on the desk today that suggests that dream isn't just a little bit off, it might be completely wrong.
It might be the exact inverse, actually.
That's what I'm seeing.
We're diving into what researchers are calling the AI productivity paradox, and we're unpacking a really dense, fascinating study on something they call redistribution and work intensification. And the headline finding is, well, it's uncomfortable, these tools are working. They're faster, they're more efficient.
Right.
But the humans using them, we're not working less, we're feeling busier, more stressed, and we're working longer than before the tech ever showed up.
See, that makes absolutely no mathematical sense to me. If a tool writes a report in 10 seconds that used to take me 2 hours, simple math says I get an hour and 59 minutes back. Where did that time go?
That is the million-dollar question. And the answer isn't in the math, it's in the psychology. The source material we're looking at today isn't just a survey.
So they didn't just ask people how they felt.
No, this was an in-depth, long-term observational study at a mid-sized U.S. tech firm.
So they were basically shadowing these people.
Fly-on-the-wall style. They watched employees for months as they adopted these generative AI tools. And what they found, it destroys the common narrative that evil management is to blame for burnout.
Right, because the knee-jerk reaction is to say, oh, the boss saw I did my work in half the time, so they just doubled my quota.
The robot did it, so do it twice. And that definitely happens. But in this study, that wasn't the main driver. The intensification. It was voluntary.
Wait, what?
It was self-inflicted. The workers accelerated their own pace, and they extended their own hours. By choice.
Okay, hold on. We have to unpack that. Why on earth would anyone, given a tool that saves time, choose to use that saved time to work more?
It comes down to friction. For the complete removal of it. Think about the idea of activation energy. When you have to write a complex proposal or code something from scratch, what's the hardest part?
Starting the blank page. It's terrifying. I will clean my entire house to avoid staring at a blinking cursor.
Exactly. That's blank page paralysis. It takes a huge cognitive lift just to begin. But AI basically removes that barrier. You type a single sentence, a prompt, and boom. You've got a draft, you have code, and outline.
So the work just feels more approachable.
It feels conversational. Easy. The study found that because that barrier to entry dropped so low, enthusiasm and curiosity just took over. The researchers described it almost like a game. It's fun to see what the machine can do.
I get that. It's the whole can versus should thing, because they could do the task instantly, they just did it.
And then they did it again and again. And because that friction of starting was gone, the sheer volume of tasks they kicked off just skyrocketed.
So if I'm getting this right, it's like, imagine you're cooking. If you have to chop everything by hand, maybe you just make a simple stir fry.
Right.
But if you have a magic machine that preps all your ingredients in 3 seconds, suddenly you're thinking, well, why don't I make a 5-course meal?
That's the perfect analogy. And at first, this looked great from the company's perspective.
Yeah.
Output is way up. Teams are moving faster.
It looks like a massive win.
A massive win. But here's the trap. There were no structural guardrails.
Meaning nobody set a speed limit?
Exactly. The employees were running a sprint, but they just kept sprinting. They weren't using the save time to rest or recover. They were filling that vacuum with more output. They replaced drudgery with volume.
It's like buying a Ferrari and deciding that you now have to drive at 150 miles an hour to the grocery store just because the car can do it.
And eventually the driver, not the car, is going to crash.
Yeah.
Which brings us to the second and maybe more complex layer of this paradox. The researchers call it task expansion.
I saw this in the notes and it worried me. Task expansion sounds a lot like corporate speak for doing someone else's job.
It essentially is.
Yeah.
But again, it starts from a good place. It starts with empowerment. The study highlights how AI lowers the expertise barrier.
Okay.
So suddenly you have product managers thinking, hey, I don't have to wait for an engineer to write this little script. I can just ask the AI to do it.
On the surface, that sounds incredible. You're removing bottlenecks, the team moves faster, right?
In theory, yes. If the AI output perfect code every single time, sure. But we don't live in that world. What happened in practice created what the researchers call a ripple effect
A ripple effect of what?
of invisible labor.
Invisible labor. Okay, break that down for me.
So the product manager feels like a superhero. They generated the code. They feel really productive. But that code, it's usually not production ready. It might have security flaws, logic errors, or it's just what they call spaghetti code.
Messy, hard to maintain.
Exactly. So it doesn't just go live, it goes to the actual experts, the senior engineers. And the study found that those engineers started spending way more time reviewing, correcting, and basically cleaning up these AI-assisted attempts from non-experts.
So the work didn't vanish, it just shifted from creation to cleanup.
And it mutated. That's the key word. Debugging someone else's or a robot's bad code is often much harder and more cognitively draining than just writing it yourself from scratch.
Oh, that's such a crucial point. If I write it, I know the logic. If I have to untangle what a bot did, I'm suddenly a detective.
Yes. The engineers were suddenly burdened with this informal coaching role, troubleshooting things that never would have even hit their desk before.
So if you're the product manager, you're looking at your metrics thinking, I'm crushing it. But if you're the engineer, you're just drowning in what feels like administrative debris.
Precisely. It shows how productivity in one area can create a massive bottleneck in another if you aren't looking at the whole system.
I want to pivot to something the report mentioned that really hit home for me personally. It's about when we work. We talked about how AI makes starting a task frictionless. The research calls the result of this the death of the pause.
This is one of the more insidious findings, I think. It has to do with how we perceive work. Because AI is conversational. You just type into a chat window. It doesn't feel like heavy lifting.
Right. It's not like firing up some complex piece of software where you have to mentally brace yourself. It feels like texting.
And so what happened was workers started slipping this work into micro moments.
Micro moments. Are we talking about like the 2 minutes you're waiting for the elevator?
Waiting for the kettle to boil. The 3 minutes between Zoom calls. Your lunch break. Late night checks on your phone while you're watching TV. Because the tool is so responsive, you think, oh, I'll just keep the ball rolling. I'll just send this one little prompt.
I am 100% guilty of this. It feels like I'm being efficient. I'm using the dead air in my day.
But that dead air serves a biological purpose. The report describes the work becoming permeable or ambient.
Permeable.
It's not fully on, but it's never fully off. It's just sort of floating in the air around you all the time.
Ambient work. That's a terrifying phrase. It sounds like background radiation.
The cost of ambient work is the loss of cognitive recovery. Our brains need those natural pauses, that blank space between tasks to reset. We're not machines. When you fill every single gap with a quick AI prompt, you eliminate the downtime your brain absolutely needs to function.
So by trying to be hyper-efficient, we are essentially redlining our own brains. We're confusing low friction with low effort.
That's the perfect way to put it. Just because it's easy to start doesn't mean it doesn't take a toll. And this lack of recovery sets the stage for the next big issue. Multitasking.
Now, I've always been told that multitasking is a myth, that we're just switching contexts really fast and doing a bad job at everything.
It complicates it. See, humans are serial processors. We do task A, we finish it, then we do task B. AI allows for parallel processing.
Right. I can have an AI generating headline options in one tab while I'm writing an email in another and running a data analysis in a third. The AI handles the waiting.
You're managing parallel streams. And on a dashboard, this looks like incredible productivity. Look at all these things moving forward at once. But the cognitive load of switching between those streams is immense.
You're not just doing one thing. You're managing 3 distinct conversations with 3 distinct goals.
Exactly. You're not the worker anymore. You're the air traffic controller. And being an air traffic controller is a lot more stressful than just flying a single plane.
That's a great image. And you have planes coming in from every direction because you're the one who launched them all at the same time.
And this creates a feedback loop. The source material actually maps this out. They call it the cycle of intensification. It's a 5-step process that explains why we feel so trapped.
Okay, walk us through this cycle. How does it start?
Step 1 is simple. AI accelerates task completion. You finish the thing fast.
Oh, great. We like that. Step 2.
Step 2, speed raises expectations. Because you did it fast once, everyone, including yourself, expects that speed to be the new normal, the new baseline.
The bar gets raised immediately, no good deed goes unpunished.
Step 3. Those higher expectations increase your reliance on the AI. You have to use it now just to keep up. You can't go back to the old way.
You're locked in, you're dependent on the tool to maintain the new pace.
Step 4. That reliance expands your scope. Well, since I'm so fast, I can take on this extra project. I can do the design and the copy.
And step 5 must be the result of all that.
Step 5. Expanded scope increases workload density. You end up with a day that is packed tighter with more tasks than ever before.
That is the paradox right there. We used the tool to go faster, but the result is just a denser, heavier day.
And the workers in this study reported exactly that. They felt productive, yes, but they also felt significantly busier. The pressure just ramped up without a manager ever explicitly asking for it.
It's almost tragic. We built these tools to liberate ourselves, and we end up using them to build a denser prison, it sounds like. Are you familiar with Jevons paradox?
Ah, yes. The economic theory from the 1800s.
It feels like that's what's happening.
It is, really. Jevons paradox says that as technology makes using a resource more efficient, the total consumption of that resource actually goes up, not down.
We made coal use more efficient, so we just use more coal.
We made work more efficient, and now we're doing more work.
So what do we do? Because I'm not hearing you say delete ChatGPT. The source material isn't anti-AI.
No, absolutely not. This isn't a Luddite manifesto. The technology is here, and the benefits are real. But the report calls for building an intentional AI culture.
Which sounds a bit like a buzzword, I'll be honest. What does that actually look like on a Tuesday morning when you're drowning?
They propose 3 specific strategies.
Right.
And the first one is the direct counter to that death of the pause we talked about. They call it intentional pauses.
Okay, but just telling people to take a break never works. We just skip it when we get busy.
Right, which is why it has to be structural, not just optional. The idea is to counter acceleration with structured reflection. This isn't just go get a coffee. It's building actual checkpoints into the workflow.
So instead of churning out 10 AI drafts, you have a scheduled moment, a literal calendar block, maybe, to stop and ask, is this actually any good? Is this the right direction?
Yes. Decision review intervals. The source argues these pauses don't reduce productivity. They stop you from running really, really fast in the wrong direction.
I like that. It's permission to stop. It reintroduces some of that friction we lost, like putting a speed bump in a parking lot.
Exactly. We need good friction. And the second strategy is workflow sequencing. This is to fix that air traffic controller problem.
How do we fix that? I feel like I always have 10 tabs open.
You stop the perpetual interruption. Instead of letting AI prompts bleed into every second of the day, you batch them. You have deep focus blocks where you might not even use the tool at all.
So treating it like a power tool. You go to the workshop, you use the table saw for an hour, and you turn it off and go do something else.
That is a vivid image, but yes.
Yeah.
We need to stop treating AI like an IV drip that's constantly attached to us. You engage with it, you get the output, and then you disengage to process that output.
And the third strategy?
This is the most human one, reinforcing human connection.
This is to address the isolation, I'm guessing. Because if I'm just chatting with a bot all day, I can go 8 hours without talking to a real person.
Exactly. AI encourages these isolated, self-contained workflows. You don't need to ask a colleague for help because the bot can help you, but that kills the shared context of a team.
So the solution is to force those human touch points back into the system.
Peer check-ins, collaborative reflection, making sure that even if an AI does the drafting, the review and the discussion happen between people. It anchors the work back in reality.
It seems like the common theme here is friction. We used AI to remove all the friction, and now we need to artificially add some of it back in. Good friction.
That's a brilliant way to put it. We need good friction. The friction of a pause, the friction of a scheduled block of time, the friction of talking to another human who might disagree with you. Without that, we just slide right into burnout.
It really shifts the responsibility, doesn't it? We can't blame the tool. The tool is just an accelerator.
The responsibility lies with leaders and with teams themselves. You have to actively shape the rhythm of the work. If you just let the tool dictate the pace, it will always accelerate until something breaks.
So just because you can do it instantly doesn't mean you should do it constantly.
That distinction is going to be the difference between teams that thrive with this technology and teams that burn out in 6 months.
I want to leave everyone with a final thought today. We've established that AI increases productivity. That's not really up for debate anymore. The tools work. But the question this research leaves us with is this. Is that productivity sustainable?
If we don't fundamentally change how we value downtime, If we don't stop seeing not working as wasted time, then all this new productivity is going to come at a very, very high human cost. We're optimizing for speed, but we're sacrificing endurance.
We might be building a race car, but if we forget to build the brakes, we're just going to crash that much faster.
Couldn't have said it better.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. It's definitely made me rethink how I'm going to use my tools tomorrow. Maybe I won't send that prompt while I'm waiting for my coffee.
Maybe just enjoy the coffee.
I will. We'll see you next time.